Okay, welcome back, everyone. And I see that Richard Rosenzweig has joined us, and Abe Arbach joined us. I'm not sure who Daddy is, but welcome. There's a lot of daddies here. We are holding on Daf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph, and we are saying, why did we have to say that the Shulchan is not a clay eitz asli lenachas, because they picked it up for the oilei regalim? Why don't we say that it has a din of matchis, of metal, which is makabel tumah even if it's stationary, because it was plated with gold? The chi tema suggests the Gemara 4 lines from the top of Daf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph. The chi tema atze shitim chashive. It's made out of acacia wood, and acacia wood is very expensive, and it doesn't lose its status to the gold. When our previous teaching, when it's covered with marble, it has a din of stoneware. Clay axalgus, only with the routine axalgus wood, which was imported from overseas. Clay mismris, but clay mismris, which is chashive, which is important wood, then shapper. So the acacia wood is not bottled to the gold. El Rabbi Yochanan Dama Clay Mismas Nami Batle Ma'ikalamema. Says the Gemara, well, the Shulchan is different because the Torah doesn't refer to it as gold, it refers to it as wood. The Torah has the last say. Shani Shulchan the Rachmana. When we say Torah, we mean the merciful one, because Torah means Hashem, and Hashem is the merciful one. So the Gemara says the Rachmana, because the Rebbeinu Shalom karya eitz shenemar hamizbeach eitz. The altar is wood. Shalosh amas gevaya, 3 amas high. Orkoi shtayim, a length of 2 amas. Umiksois like with corners. Ve'orko, its length. V'kiroisav, and its walls eitz. Ve'yadaber elai zeh hashulchan asher lifnei Hashem. So you see, the shulchan is called the shulchan of eitz. So that's the predominant material and not the gold. But the Gemara says this pasuk is confusing. It starts talking about the mizbeach and ends off with wood. Pasach v'mizbeach v'sayim v'shulchan. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan v'Rabbi Elazar dimrei travay. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar both say bizman shebeis hamikdash kayim, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, mizbeach mechaper ala adam. The altar atoned for people. The achshav she'ein beis hamikdash kayim shulchanu shel adam mechaper alav, his table that he gives food to the poor, that's what atones for him. Now, not everybody could have people by their table. You can't be a tzaddik on your wife's cheshbon. But when it says your table could be mechaper, it could be mechaper because you give money to Tamchei Shabbos also, right? So if you don't have people at your table, I used to tell my children, we're sitting alone with the family. Very rarely do I have guests by the Seder. Many people this year asked to join my Seder. And I had to turn them all down because I spend time exclusively with my family. But then I sound like a hypocrite when I say, Kol d'chvin yeseh v'yechel, Kol d'tzrich yeseh v'yivsach. So I always tell my children that when I say Kol d'chvin yeseh v'yechel, I mean that I provided money that people could sit by their own Seder in their own home. And that's also called d'chvin yeseh v'yechel. And by the way, that's how we could say it, even though we're saying it after Kiddush. Who invites somebody to come after Kiddush? The answer is we're saying that we made it available for people to eat their sedarim by giving kimcha de pischa. It's interesting that they bring down from the Chachmei Paris, that the Chachmei Paris, that's the Balitoisis in Paris, used to fashion from their tables their coffin. They would make out of their tables, because by the table they did tzedakah, and by the table they sat and learned. By the table they sang zmiris, and so they fashioned out of their tables a coffin. They say over that the Shiva of Torah V'das, who started the day school movement. Why is his name Reb Mendelovich? Reb Mendelovich used to say that the main room in your house should be the dining room and not the living room. He said in the living room people sit and they talk Lashon Hara. They sit and waste their time. By the table, they sing Zmiris, they learn from a Sefer, they make Kiddush, they eat L'Kavod Shabbos. He said the main room should be the dining room over the living room. Very, very interesting perspective. Okay, now, Arba Snifin Shel Zav HaYusham. There were 4 of those props, they call them, 4 racks. So the Gemara says, Menani Mili, how do we know about these racks and these tubes? Amarav Katina Amakra, it says words that we don't know right away what they mean. V'asisa kairoisav v'kapoisav u'kisoisav v'menakiyosav. So kairoisav elu defusim, that's the mold that the lechem aponim was made in. Kapoisav elu bazichim, that's the spoons, the 2 spoons that held the frankincense. Kisoisav elu snifin, those are the 4 props. U'menakiyosav elu konim, those are the tubes. Asher yusach b'en shemisachim b'en es alechem, that we cover with it the bread. So Moisav Rava asked, Lo yisidar hakonim v'lo netilas and doiches es haShabbos, not the removal or the replacement of the tubes supersede the Shabbos. But if we learn it out from a pasuk, v'yisol kedaita d'oraisa, amai ein doiches es haShabbos, why doesn't it supersede the Shabbos? That's not a kasha because it could be done before Shabbos. Whatever you could do before Shabbos ain't a doiches as a Shabbos. Here also Shabbos alive. Says the Gemara, because why do we have the tubes that the ear should get through and the bread shouldn't spoil? Waiting till after Shabbos or taking it out before Shabbos, loima apish, it won't spoil. Kedetanya, Kate said, what was the procedure? Nichnes me'erev Shabbos, he enters from before Shabbos, v'shaimton, and he slips them out, umanichem la'orkei shel shulchan, and leaves them along the length of the floor, along the length of the shulchan. Umatzai Shabbos, and on Matzai Shabbos nichnas, magvia rosheh shel challah, picks up the head of each challah, umachnes kana tachteh, puts the 2 back, the chazer magvia rosheh shel challah, he picks up the next challah, umachnes kana tachteh. Now, as we said, arba chalas tzricha shloisha konim, 4 of the chalas need to have 3 tubes each. Ha'elyoina, the uppermost challah, since not many are sitting on it, and it's tzricha el shnayim, it only needs 2 underneath it. Lefisha ein oleh masli, it doesn't have too much weight. It's only the 1 challah. Hatachtaina, the bottom challah, doesn't need any because it sits on the table, and it's tzricha kol iker lefisha menachos al taharoi shel shulchan, on the surface of the shulchan. So that's 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 2 is 14. So 14 on each side, 28 in total. Now you got to get out your arithmetic a little bit. Tanan Hossam. We're into Masechtas Kalim. The Mishnayim is soon we're going to get to Tyrus, the hardest branch. Boy, are we coming to some fun. If anybody saw the front of my house, they might have seen a big delivery. I ordered a mobile blackboard for the shul because soon we're going to be learning Kinim, and I'm going to need to use a blackboard. So wait, that's going to be a lot of fun. Yisrael, you learned Kinam with me already more than once, right? No, you didn't? We learned it in the Daf Yomi.
This is my first cycle.
You didn't learn the Mishnah Emes with me last time?
Not sure.
Yeah, okay. Old hands learned Kinam with me, and it's the last Mishnah in Kinam, the Tiferes Yisrael said is the hardest Mishnah in Shas. So stay tuned for some fun. Tanan Hasan. Reb Meir Eimer kol amas shahaya b'mikdash. All the amas that were in the mikdash were beininus, were medium amas of 6 tvachim. Chutz me mizbeach hazav, except for the mizbeach hazav, the golden altar, va'keren, and the corners of the mizbeach on the outside, va'soivev, and the ledge, va'yesoid, and the base, they were 5 tvachim. Reb Yehuda argues. Reb Yehuda Eimer, amas binyan shisha tvachim. The amma of construction was 6 tvachim. V'shel kalim, not just the mizbeach hazav, but all of the utensils were chamisha. Now, Amar Reb Yochanan, u'shnei mikra echad. They both expound the same pasuk. Ve'ela midos hamizbeach ba'amas, and this is the measurement of the outside mizbeach. Amma v'toifach, an amma, and a tefach. Now, what does that mean? It means that the mizbeach on the outside was ba'amas. What kind of an amma? An amma of a tefach. That means that it's 5 tefach plus 1 tefach. It's 6 tvachim. So the mizbeach ha'oila was 6 tvachim. The Cheika Amma, the base, the Amma Reichev, and Amma of its width, Ugevula El Svasa, and round about at the edge, that means the corners, Saviv, Zeres Echad, each one is a half an Amma from the middle, Saviv Zeres Echad, that means it's an Amma by an Amma. V'zeh Gava Mizbeach, and that's the top of the altar, that's an Amma of 5 tvach. So as Reb Yochanan says, how do you understand the pasuk? Cheika Amma Zeh Yisoid. Amma Reichev Zeh Soivev, that's the ledge. Ugevula El Svasa Saviv Zeres Echad, and the border by its edge, round about, a half an amma, a span, elu kronos. And zeh gava mizbeach. And this is the top of the mizbeach, zeh mizbeach hazav. So, these are the things which are like the mizbeach hazav, which are only 5 tvachim. So, Rameir Savar, Zeu ba'ama bas chamisha. Only these are an amma 5 tvachim. Hakol amas kalim, but all the other utensils are ba'ama bas sheish, are an amma of 6 tvachim. Rabbi Yehuda Savar, no, kazeh yir kol amas kalim. Like this should be all the amas of the kalim, that they're 6 tvachim, and not, that they're 5 tvachim, and not 6 tvachim. The 5 tvachim was used for all utensils. 6 tvachim was only the amma of construction. Now, the question is, when it says the yisoid and the soivev, what does that mean? Chesol kedaitach mi yisoid va'at soivev The Gemara thought that it means that from the aside, from the base, until the Soivev, was an Amma Bas Chamisha Begaiva, were Amas of 5 Tvachim in height. Umay Chek Amma V'Amma Reichev. What does it mean? The base is an Amma, and the Amma of the ledge, Hachi Kama, Mechek Amma, from the Yesod, V'Ad Reichev, until the ledge is Ba'ama Bas Chamisha, is an Amma of 5 Tvachim. So now from the bottom until, so let's see it. Goiva Mizbeach Kamahabi. What's the height of the Mizbeach? The height of the Mizbeach is Eser Amas. Now, according to you, if from the bottom until the ledge is an Amma of 5 Tvachim, so that means 6 times 5. Shis b'nei chamsha chamsha. It's 6 of 5 and 5 tvachim. V'arba, and the remaining 4 is b'nei shita shita, is 6. So that would be 5 times 6 is 30. Because it's 6 amas that are 5, so 6 times 5 is 30, and 4 times 6 is 24. So that means that the entire height of the mizbeach would be 54 tvachim. The mizbeach kamahaba chamshin v'arba would be 54 tvachim high. So then, where would half of the mizbeach be? If you divide it in half, 54 divided by 2 is 27. Palgid the Mizbeach Kamahava, what would be the half point of the Mizbeach? Esim Mishiva. So, we know that the Chut HaSikra, the red line that bisected the half of the Mizbeach, was at the midpoint. So that means that the Chut HaSikra would be at 27. Now, Mikronais Vatsoivev Kamahave, from the corners until the ledge is how much? 24. So that means that from there to the midpoint would be 3 tvachim. Kama botzer lepalge mizbeach. How much remains from going from the ledge till the chut hasikra? Plus 3 tvachim. But that's a problem, because usnan chutz shel sikra chaygrei be'emtza, the red line girds the mizbeach in its middle. Kidei lahavdil bein damim al yoinim ledamim atachton. Remember, we learned in Zvachim very much that most of the blood goes under the chut hasikra. The blood of the chatas goes above the chut hasikra. Now, the problem is, elahadis sanya gabe oilay sa'if. Now, the oilay sa'if, its blood had to be above the chut hasikra. So, your oilay bakevesh, he went up the ramp, upana l'sayvev, he turned to the ledge, ubalay l'keren draimus mizrachis, he came to the southeastern corner, umoilikis raishay mimul arpa, and he did the malika on its head by the nape. Umavdil, he separates it. We have to separate the oil completely. Umotses dama al kira mizbeach, and he squeezes the blood on the kira mizbeach. V'im asa lamata miraglav afilu ama achas ksheir. If he does it under his feet, even an ama, it's kosher. That's no good, because he's standing on the ledge at 24. And it has to be, the blood of the oil has to be above the chut hasikra, and the chut hasikra is by 27. You only have 3 tvachim. But he says you could do it even an amma below the chut hasikra. Even if you're talking about an amma of 5 tvachim, hakayav yoyna lamata mishnei tvachim. If he's doing the oil sa'if, if he does it an amma below the saivev, he's doing it at least 2 tvachim under the chut hasikra, which is not allowed. So therefore, scratch this pshat. This pshat doesn't work. Rather, elacheka ama knisa. The yisoid, when it says that the yisoid is an amma 5 tvachim, it means the indentation of the yisoid, that the base indents in an amma, it indents in 5 tvachim. And amma reichev knisa, and then the yisoid indents in another amma, it's talking about an amma 5 tvachim. Gvula al svasa saviv is knisa, is that the surface of the keren uses up from the surface of the mizbeach an amma 5 tvachim. So Gemara says that this will fit very well with what we just said with the Ayla. Because then the height is all an amma of 6 tvachim. Oh, then that works very good. Mizbeach kama havale. So what's the height of the mizbeach? Shitin. Because it's 10 ammas of 6 tvachim. So it's 60 tvachim. Palgei the mizbeach kama hava. How much is the half point? Where the chut hasikra is? Tlasen. It's 30. Nu mikranas vatzayvev, from the horn until the ledge, which is 4 ammas, is 24. Kama have esim v'arba. So kama botzil lepalgei the mizbeach, how much room till the midpoint from 24 to 30 is shisha, is an amma. Oh, that's good. Usnanim also lamata miraglov, if when he's doing the oilus oif and he's standing on the ledge, he applies the blood even an amma below, afilu amma achas ksheira, because that will reach right away the chut hasikra, so he's not below the chut hasikra, that's good. However, we got another problem. Because if we're learning it's indentation. But mayu kimta b'knisa, that you say that it's talking about indentation, or mi matzis mukmasla b'knisa, v'atanan, mizbeach hayishloishim mishtayim al shloishim mishtayim. The mizbeach at the bottom were 32 ammas by 32 ammas. And this is 32 ammas of 6 tvach. Ola amma, it went up an amma, v'konas amma, and then it indented an amma to make the yisoid. So that's an amma on each side. So we deduct instead of being 32 by 32, now it's 30 by 30. Zeh yisoid, nimtza, that after the indentation of the base, the mizbeach is now nimtza shloishim al shloishim, it's now 30 by 30. But if the indentation is only 5 tvachim, when we're dealing with the amounts here, we're talking about an amma of 6 tvachim. So when we go in 5 tvachim on each side, so then that means that it's 30 and 2 tvachim each, because we're talking about an amma of 6 tvachim. So then it says the Gemara, shloishim ushnei tvachim have. It's shloishim and 2 tvachim, because if it indents only 5 tvachim and we're talking about 6 tvachim, so now when we deduct from the 32 by 32, we deduct 10 tvachim, so then that would be 30 and 2 tvachim, since we're talking about an amma of 6 tvachim. The su, and then it gets even worse when we then indent by the soivev. Allah chamesh, it goes up 5 ammas, v'nichnas amma, and it indents an amma, zeo soivev. Now, so it goes from 30 by 30 to 28 by 28. Nimtza esem u'shmayna, al esem u'shmayna. Now the body of the mizbeach is 28 by 28. But again, if the indentation is only 5 tvachim, so now it's really 28 and 4 tvachim. Because now we have to again add another 2 tvachim So it's on each side. So it's 28 and 4 tvachim. The 2 tvachim from before by the side, and now these 2 tvachim is 28 and 4 tvachim by 28 and 4 tvachim. So you'll say, okay, but since it doesn't add to an amma, we don't count it. But wait, we're going to go up to the kronos now. Mikain kronos amma mizeh v'amma mizeh is an amma on each side. So then it's the area within the corners is now 26 by 26. But again, if the indentation of the kronos is only 5 tvachim, we have to add another 2 tvachim. So it's not 26 by 26 because now we add now it's from the 4 tvachim, it becomes 6 tvachim. That's a full amma. So nimtz esem v'sheish al esem v'sheish. It's not. It's esem v'sheva hava. It's 27. So the Gemara says, loidak. You're right. It wasn't being exact. Says the Gemara, it's very hard to say that it wasn't being exact because you're going to run foul with the pasuk. Because then it says, after the kronos, there was a walkway for the kahanim around the pyre. Mekain hilach raglei kahanim amma mizeh v'amma mizeh is an amma on either side, which then makes it, instead of 24, it makes, instead of 26, it makes the area of the pyre now, when you deduct from the 26 now, the area of the walkway and amma on each of the 4 sides, right, it becomes 24 by 24. So, Mekayim hilach raglei kahanim amma mizeh v'amma mizeh nimtze esrim v'arba al esrim v'arba. But since we have a full amma that we added, it's not 24 by 24, it's 25 by 25. Mekayim amaracha esrim v'chamisha. So you'll say, okay, so again say loidak. We weren't being exact, but we have a problem because there's a pasuk that says the area of the pyre was 24 by 24. It says Ariel, and that's the area of the pyre. Shtayim esrei oirech b'shtayim esrei oirech ravua. It was 12 by 12 square. Now this is not 12 by 12. He said it's 24 by 24. Yachol she'ein el shtayim esrei el shtayim esrei, which would be a problem. Kishuaymer el arba revav, to the 4 quadrants. Malamid shebe emtzahu moeded, from the middle you go 12 tvachim in each direction. So that's 24 by 24. Shebe emtzahu moeded shtayim esrei amal lekol ruach v'ruach. So therefore, it's 24 by 24 and not 25 by 25. Says the Gemara, well, maybe when it says that the Mizbeach was 10 amas high, it meant v'chitema shismei nayim kara ba'ama bas chamisha ma'isilu. When we said the original, he meant that the original 6 was an amma of 5, and the others are an amma of 6, and that's why we call them ammas. Says the Gemara, but there's a problem with that. Because if the original amma of the Mizbeach, some of them were 5 tvachim, then we're going to have a problem with the 4 plan of the Azara. Im kein rafcha la'azara. The Azara is bigger than it says. The Tanan, we learned it Masechtas Midas, that's what we're learning now in the Mishnah Yomis. We're not up to this yet. We will learn it soon. Kol Azara, the temple courtyard, its floor pan, its length was 187, al roichav meo shloshim v'chamesh, and its width was 135. From the east to the west, it was 187. Mimizrach Lamarav Meir Ushmain V'Sheva. Now, what's the calculation that it was from east to west, 187? So, Makam Drisas Ragle Yisrael, first you have the Ezras Yisrael, which was Achas Asar Amma, which is 11 Amas. Then you have Mekayim Drisas Ragle Kahanim, the Ezras Kahanim, that was Achas Asar Amma, that was 11 Amas. Then a Mizbeach Shloishim Mishtayim. Mizbeach is 32 Amas. So that's 11 plus 11 is 22. Then 32 makes it 54. Bein Ulam LeMizbeach is Esem Mishtayim Amas, is 22. So that's 76. HaHeichel Meyama, the Heichel was 100 Amas, that's 176. And Achas Asar Amma Achure Beis HaKaparis, and 11 Amas behind the Kodesh Kedoshim, that makes it 187. So that's the shear that it was 187. But if it's true that the dimensions of the altar, when it says 32 by 32, was not really 32 by 32, because some of them were amas of 5 tvachim, and it's really 31 by 31, then we're off by an amma in one of the other areas. So that leaves us a problem with the floor plan. So how we're going to get out of this conundrum, we'll continue tomorrow. And we have some, by the way, delicious Agadata Gemara tomorrow as well. So stay tuned for that.
What about the Chut HaSikra? We had that problem before when you wanted to make it smaller. It doesn't bring that in anymore.
No, the Chut HaSikra we solved.